The night was quiet, except for the hum of distant wind turbines cutting through the darkness. Their blades turned rhythmically, almost hypnotically, against the pale glow of the moon. To most, they were symbols of hope, clean energy, progress, salvation from a polluted future. But to Daniel Rivers, an environmental activist who had devoted his life to fighting climate change, they whispered something else. A lie. Daniel wasn't a conspiracy theorist. He was a scientist-turned-activist known in his community as the eco-warrior. He biked instead of drove, grew his own vegetables, and volunteered for cleanup projects across the state. To him, the promise of renewable energy wasn't just a talking point. It was the future. But that night, standing on a lonely ridge near a wind farm, he saw something that rattled him to his core. The turbines weren't turning as they should. He knew from his own field data that the region's wind speeds had been steady, yet dozens of turbines were offline, their blinking lights casting an eerie glow. His curiosity was piqued. Pulling out his tablet, he accessed the energy company's live output reports. The numbers didn't match. The farm was reporting full capacity generation, but in reality, it was barely producing a fraction. His pulse quickened. Either there was a massive system error, or someone was lying. Daniel thought back to whispers he'd heard from local technicians. Unofficially, they admitted maintenance was being skipped, and parts were being replaced with cheaper, inefficient substitutes. But the public reports painted a perfect picture. The energy company was receiving millions in government subsidies, money contingent on clean output numbers. It wasn't just mismanagement. This smelled like fraud. That night, Daniel couldn't sleep. He sat at his cluttered desk, surrounded by environmental journals, reports, and old protest flyers. He replayed what he had seen. He pulled archived data, cross-checked weather patterns, and ran projections. The results were damning. The numbers had been doctored for months. The company wasn't producing clean energy at the levels it claimed. And yet, politicians were using those glowing reports to justify billion-dollar deals and sell the dream of a green revolution. He rubbed his temples, a storm raging in his head. If this was true, it wasn't just a corporate scandal, it was an attack on trust, on people's faith in the very idea of sustainability. But Daniel also knew what exposing this could mean. These were billion-dollar players. They had lawyers, politicians, and entire PR machines at their disposal. One activist would be an easy target. Still, he whispered to himself, "If I don't say something, who will?" He didn't know it yet, but that single decision would throw him into a world of surveillance, betrayal, and danger, where every step closer to the truth pushed him further into the crosshairs of those who would kill to protect their profits. The lie behind green energy had been born in shadows. Now, Daniel was about to drag it into the light. Daniel Rivers sat hunched over his desk, the pale glow of his laptop illuminating the stacks of research papers and environmental reports scattered around him. His eyes burned from hours of staring at spreadsheets, but he couldn't stop. Each number, each graph, each satellite snapshot added another piece to the puzzle. And the picture forming in front of him was terrifying. The energy company EcoPower Global wasn't just inflating numbers. They were systematically falsifying reports across multiple regions, solar farms, hydroelectric projects, even cutting-edge geothermal sites. In some areas, production was barely half of what was advertised. Yet, the official reports gleamed with record-breaking output. Daniel leaned back in his chair, his heart racing. "This isn't just one company cutting corners," he muttered. "This is a cover-up." But how deep did it go? He started reaching out to insiders. Carefully, discreetly, using encrypted messaging apps, he contacted technicians he'd met at environmental conferences, friends who'd left EcoPower disillusioned, and even a whistleblower hotline that had mysteriously gone dark months earlier. Most were afraid to talk. Some ignored him. But one night, his phone buzzed. A message appeared. "We need to talk. Tonight." No phones. No names. The sender was listed only as Greenshade. Daniel's stomach flipped. He knew the risks of meeting anonymous sources. But if Greenshade was real, this could be the breakthrough he needed. He arrived at the meeting spot, a rundown diner on the edge of town, the kind that stayed open all night but never had more than 3 customers. In the back booth, a figure sat with their hood up, sipping coffee. Daniel slid into the seat. "You're Rivers?" the figure asked, voice low and gravelly. Daniel nodded. "And you're Greenshade?" The figure chuckled bitterly. "That's the name I use. Listen carefully, because I won't repeat myself." They slid a manila envelope across the table. Daniel hesitated, then opened it. Inside were photocopies of internal memos, maintenance logs, and emails. One email in particular made his skin crawl. "Continue reporting optimal output. Subsidies depend on it. Do not disclose downtime figures. This directive comes from the top." It was signed by a senior executive at EcoPower Global. Daniel's pulse pounded. This was evidence. Proof. But Greenshade wasn't finished. "That's just the beginning. They're burning natural gas to supplement energy output, then labeling it as renewable. They're exporting false carbon credits to international markets. Billions are being made on lies." Daniel stared, stunned. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because," Greenshade whispered, glancing nervously toward the diner's door, "people are dying. The company has silenced others before. Accidents. Suicides. You think those are coincidences?" Daniel's throat tightened. He knew corporations could be ruthless, but murder? Cover-ups? It sounded like something out of a thriller. Yet, the look in Greenshade's eyes was dead serious. "Expose them," Greenshade said. "But be careful. Once they know you're digging, you'll be next." The figure stood abruptly and left, disappearing into the night. Daniel sat frozen in the booth, the envelope clutched in his hands. He felt like he was holding a bomb. The following days were a blur. Daniel scanned every document, stored copies in encrypted drives, and even mailed backups to a trusted friend out of state. He began drafting a report, a detailed exposé that could shatter EcoPower's carefully crafted image. But strange things started happening. His internet slowed to a crawl, as though someone was monitoring his activity. A black SUV lingered outside his apartment longer than it should. And one night, returning from the grocery store, he noticed his door was ajar. Inside, nothing was stolen, but his desk drawers had been rifled through. His laptop, though still there, had new software installed, hidden spyware. Daniel's heart sank. They knew. He wasn't just an activist anymore. He was a target. Still, as he stared at the growing mountain of evidence, a fire burned in his chest. "They want silence. I'll give them truth." What he didn't know was that the deeper he dug, the more dangerous the game would become. EcoPower wasn't just defending profits. They were defending a global empire of lies, and they had no intention of letting one eco-warrior bring it crashing down. The first real threat came on a rainy Tuesday morning. Daniel had barely finished his morning coffee when his phone buzzed with an unknown number. He almost let it go to voicemail, but something made him pick up. "Mr. Rivers," a calm voice said, with the practiced neutrality of someone used to intimidation. "We know what you're working on. Stop now. Walk away, and this will end quietly." Daniel froze. "Who is this?" The line clicked dead. His hand trembled as he set the phone down. He tried to shake it off, but minutes later an email landed in his inbox. No subject line, no sender details, just one message. "Accidents happen. Don't make yourself one of them." Daniel's gut clenched. They weren't just watching him, they were inside his digital world, tracking every move. That night, he confided in his closest friend, Maya Torres, a journalist he trusted with his life. They met at her apartment, blinds drawn, lights low. "You need to go public now," Maya urged, scanning the files he had gathered. "If you hold on to this too long, they'll bury you before the story ever sees daylight." "I don't have enough yet," Daniel countered, pacing the room. "I need undeniable proof. Something they can't spin, can't deny." Maya crossed her arms. "Daniel, you're treating this like a research project. But this is war. They'll play dirty. You won't win by playing fair." He knew she was right, but his instincts as a scientist screamed for airtight evidence. If he rushed it, they'd shred his credibility. The pressure mounted. His car tires were slashed outside his apartment. A brick shattered his window with a note attached. "This is your only warning." He went to the police, but the officer barely looked up from his desk. "Do you have any proof it's connected to the company?" "Could just be kids messing around." Daniel wanted to scream. The police didn't care. Or worse, they were in on it. That night, he turned to Greenshade again. Using the same encrypted app, he sent a desperate message. "They know. I need more. Something big enough to end this once and for all." Hours later, the reply came, "Meet me tomorrow. Bring no one. This is the last drop I can give." The meeting was set at an abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of the city. The place reeked of rust and oil, shadows stretching long under flickering lights. Greenshade arrived late, looking more paranoid than before. Their eyes darted to every corner of the room as they handed Daniel a flash drive. "This is everything," Greenshade whispered. "Financial records, offshore accounts, even contracts with politicians. If this gets out, EcoPower collapses. But you didn't get it from me." Daniel slipped the drive into his pocket, his chest pounding. This could change everything. "Or it could end you," Greenshade muttered. "You're in deeper than you know. Watch your back." Before Daniel could respond, the sound of tires screeched outside. Headlights cut across the warehouse walls. Doors slammed. Footsteps. "Run!" Greenshade hissed. Daniel bolted, sprinting through the back exit as shouts echoed inside. He didn't look back, but the sound of a scuffle and a muffled cry froze his blood. Greenshade. He wanted to go back to help, but survival screamed louder. He ran into the night, the flash drive clutched in his fist like a lifeline. When he finally stumbled into his apartment, drenched in sweat, he plugged the flash drive into his laptop. Folders opened, revealing damning evidence. Forged reports, secret government deals, hidden emissions logs. It was enough to destroy EcoPower. But as he scrolled, one file caught his eye. A confidential dossier labeled simply, "Operation Silencer." Inside were names. Journalists, activists, scientists. Every one of them had tried to question EcoPower in the past decade. Many were now dead. Accidents, illnesses, suicides. And at the bottom of the list, Daniel Rivers. His hands shook as he read the final note under his name. "Target under observation. Neutralize if necessary." Daniel's breath caught in his throat. They weren't just trying to scare him. They were planning to erase him. He slammed the laptop shut, his mind spinning. He had the proof to bring them down. But now he was racing against time, before EcoPower made good on their deadly promise. Daniel Rivers sat in the dark, his apartment lit only by the glow of his laptop screen. The flash drive lay on the table like a ticking bomb. He scrolled through the files again. Fraudulent energy reports, offshore accounts funneling billions, contracts signed with government officials who publicly praised EcoPower as the pioneers of a clean tomorrow. And then there was the chilling dossier, Operation Silencer. Names of men and women who had questioned EcoPower. All silenced, and his name, staring back at him, like a death sentence waiting to be carried out. His hands shook, but his resolve hardened. "If I don't act now, I won't live long enough to act at all." The first person he called was Maya Torres. She arrived at his apartment within an hour, her hair tied back, her eyes sharp and restless. "Daniel, you look like hell. What happened?" He slid the flash drive across the table. "This is it. Everything we need. But if we release it wrong, they'll crush the story. We need a plan." Maya plugged the drive into her laptop, her expression darkening as she scrolled. "My God, this is bigger than I thought. These contracts, these names, they have half the state government in their pocket." "They have more than that," Daniel muttered. "They have killers. Look at this." He opened the file labeled Operation Silencer. Maya's face paled as she read. "You're on this list." "I know," Daniel whispered. "Which means time's up." They debated options for hours. Going to mainstream media risked EcoPower smothering the story before it aired. Leaking anonymously online could get dismissed as conspiracy nonsense. Finally, Maya leaned forward. "What if we hit them all at once? press, social media, activists, international watchdogs. A coordinated release. Too big to suppress. Daniel hesitated. Once it's out, there's no going back. Maya's gaze was steady. Isn't that what you've been fighting for all along? He nodded slowly. His pulse thudded in his ears. This was it. The next 48 hours were a blur of frantic preparation. Maya called in favors from her journalist network. Daniel reached out to environmental groups worldwide. They encrypted files, drafted reports, scheduled timed releases. Every keystroke felt like loading ammunition for a war. But eco-power wasn't idle. Daniel noticed new cars tailing him when he rode his bike. Maya's apartment was broken into, nothing stolen, but her hard drives smashed. Anonymous calls came at all hours of the night, warning them to stop. And then came the final blow. On the eve of the release, Daniel received a video file via email. No sender. No subject line. Just one word in the file name. Final Chance MP4. He clicked it. The screen showed Greenshade beaten, bruised, tied to a chair in a dimly lit room. Their voice cracked as they spoke. Daniel, stop this. Please. They'll kill you. They'll kill anyone you love. This is your last warning. The video cut to black. Daniel sat frozen, nausea twisting his stomach. Guilt clawed at him. Had his fight doomed Greenshade? How many more would suffer if he pushed forward? For the first time, doubt nearly broke him. That night, Maya found him pacing his apartment, eyes wild. They got Greenshade, Daniel muttered. It's my fault. If I push this, more people will die. Maya grabbed his shoulders. Listen to me. That's what they want. They want you to believe you're powerless. But look at what you've uncovered. This isn't just about you or me or Greenshade. This is about everyone they're lying to, everyone who believes in the future they're poisoning with greed. Daniel's breath hitched. Maya's voice softened. If you stay silent now, their lie wins forever. But if you speak, maybe you don't just save yourself. Maybe you save millions. Silence hung heavy in the room. Then Daniel straightened, fire returning to his eyes. Then we go all in, he said. No more waiting. The next morning, the world changed. At 9 a.m. sharp, journalists across the country received encrypted files containing eco-power's darkest secrets. Environmental groups blasted the reports on social media. Influencers shared leaked documents with hashtags that spread like wildfire. Within an hour, eco-power stock began to plummet. News anchors scrambled to cover the breaking scandal. Government officials denied involvement, but their signatures on the contracts told a different story. Daniel sat in Maya's living room, watching the chaos unfold on TV. But even as the truth spread, he knew it wasn't over. Exposing them was one thing. Surviving the fallout was another, because eco-power wasn't dead yet, and they still had him in their sights. The world was burning with outrage. Eco-power's pristine image crumbled in real time. Every headline screamed betrayal. Green giant caught in global scam. Government ties to eco-power unravel in leaked documents. The green energy lie exposed. Social media feeds flooded with hashtags. Hashtag eco-power exposed. Hashtag greenlease. Hashtag justice for our planet. For a fleeting moment, Daniel Rivers felt relief. We did it. The truth is out. But the relief didn't last. That night, as he left Maya's apartment, two men in black suits stepped from a parked SUV, blocking his path. Their eyes were cold, their stance unmistakably threatening. You've caused a lot of trouble, Mr. Rivers, one said. People like you, they don't last long. Daniel's pulse spiked. But before he could react, headlights blazed across the street. A news van screeched to a halt. Cameras swung toward them, reporters shouting questions. The men froze, faces caught in the glare of live broadcasting. With a sharp curse, they slipped back into the SUV and sped away. Maya rushed out, clutching Daniel's arm. You're not safe. Not anymore. He gave a hollow laugh. I was never safe. But now at least the world knows. The backlash was seismic. Governments that once praised eco-power scrambled to distance themselves. International watchdogs announced investigations. Protests erupted outside corporate headquarters. Inside, chaos reigned. Whistleblowers within EcoPower began leaking more files, emboldened by Daniel's courage. Executives deleted emails, shredded documents, fled the country. And then, one breaking news alert changed everything. EcoPower CEO Jonathan Hale arrested at private airstrip, facing charges of fraud, conspiracy, and environmental destruction. Daniel sat in stunned silence. He had imagined this moment, but seeing it on screen felt surreal. Maya squeezed his hand. "You did this." "No," Daniel said quietly. "We did." But victory came with scars. Greenshade's fate was revealed weeks later, alive, but permanently scarred from the torture inflicted before EcoPower's fall. Daniel visited them in the hospital, guilt heavy in his chest. "You risked everything?" Greenshade rasped, voice fragile but steady. "And you won. Don't you dare blame yourself for what they did." Daniel's eyes burned. "I just hope it was worth it." "It was," Greenshade whispered, "because now, no one can pretend they didn't know." Months passed. EcoPower's empire collapsed. Billions in fines. Executives sentenced. Laws rewritten to close the loopholes they had exploited. Daniel could have disappeared, started a new life in silence. But instead, he chose the opposite. He stood on stages around the world, speaking about the dangers of unchecked greed, the price of truth, and the power of ordinary people to fight back. His words echoed like wildfire. "Truth is a dangerous weapon. They'll try to silence you, bury you, break you. But when you speak anyway, when you refuse to bow, you can topple giants." The final scene unfolded at a climate summit, where Daniel walked to the podium. Cameras flashed. An audience of thousands waited. He looked out not just at the faces before him, but at the millions watching online. "This fight isn't over," he said, voice clear, steady. EcoPower was only one lie. There are more. But if one whistleblower, one journalist, one voice can start this, imagine what all of us can do together. The crowd erupted in applause. Daniel's chest swelled, not with pride, but with certainty. The war for truth was far from won. But for the first time, hope felt real. If you love this story, like, share, and subscribe to the channel for more interesting stories.